Thank you for listening to Being with Butterfly on Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Again, thank you for listening to Being with Butterfly on Anchor. I'm Kay Butterfly Smith, Healing Planetary Being, and I'm your host. Welcome to Season 3 of Being with Butterfly. Being with Butterfly is a podcast that discusses the most important relationship in our lives, the relationship with self. Join us every Monday from March 21st to May 30th from your car, kitchen, the comfort of your bed, or in the company of good people as we share our experiences and knowledge on how to foster, grow, and maintain a healthy self relationship. You can listen on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Breaker. Being with Butterfly is brought to you by KGPLA. KGPLA, seed ideas, plant dreams, fuel lives. So, let's just introduce yourself. And this is Being with Butterfly, and we talk about self-discovery, our relationship with self, and how we navigate that. I follow you on Instagram. We're friends. We're family. And yes. You do a lot of amazing things in the community in terms of like uplifting entrepreneurs, people who are survivors of trauma, helping people work through their issues with jewelry and herbs and tinctures. You are an asset to the community. But it's a lot to juggle, in order to be successful. I feel that it is determinate upon the self-relationship that we have. And so I just wanted to bring, planetary beings on like yourself to talk about your self-relationship. So what do you understand your self-relationship to be, or the self-relationship to be? What do you understand that to be? And introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Butterfly. So my name is Kayla Johnson, also known as Free Self. That's like the umbrella name. Free Self Creations is the umbrella name that I do a lot of my work with the community and artwork as well, and writing under. And I am from Chicago, based in Chicago, and just changing every day. So the expressions of who I am are constantly changing, but the goal for my expression to liberate me and liberate those around me is constant. And I'm glad you asked me this question, and we're doing it today because I got some time to, really journal about it. And when I think about a relationship with myself, I didn't know I had to have a relationship with myself until I was in relationship with other people, like family members, partners, and I was not digging the relationship. I was feeling, abused. I was feeling, like you said, traumatized. And, choosing self-relationship was how I survived the trauma. That's how I became a trauma survivor, because I just started to see and kind of feel in my body, locating my body how I don't want to be treated, and just started to you could share, you can record on Zoom.
Okay.
I think. Sorry, I was looking at the screen. But I started to become more passionate about how I treated myself and spend time with myself. Like, I found refuge and breath through books, arts, crafts. And as a child, I would get these monthly, they were called Creative Girl Kits. And they had different art projects and instruction books. And I would look forward to them every month because it would be a time where I could spend time with myself, grow myself. And that time with myself triumphed all the trauma. So really locating my passions, locating my therapies was the beginning of having a relationship with myself.
That's really good. And what parts of yourself are you working on right now, and what areas are you growing in?
I also want to mention on that tail end of that last question, Black women played an important part with my relationship with myself, because my grandmother and my mom, both my grandmothers, my moms, and a lot of Black women around me, they would be on a train reading books. Like, anytime they had spare time, they would be reading books. They would be doing some type of craft project, whether it's quilting, something. I feel like Black women are one of the biggest examples of like how you should have a relationship with yourself and take care of yourself. So right now, what I'm working on is kind of your second question when you were texting me about balance. And I feel like being selfish is a priority, like important for me in this lifetime, but also balancing that selfishness. So, you know, I come from all these Black women that love literature, love art, but in my lineage specifically, well, just in the last couple generations, I'm like the first one to pursue art as a career, pursue writing as in getting works published. So I'm like being really selfish and using all my time, but I'm working on being balanced and, you know, surrendering to responsibilities, surrendering to the aspects that I can't be selfish, you know, realizing that my family is also my ministry and making sure that they're good, being supportive for them and not being so focused on my community. I feel like a lot of activist artists, they go through this point where it's like they give so much to the community that they forget about the community that really is around them, living with them. So I'm trying to find a balance between those two.
Is there value, in your opinion, is there value in having a relationship with yourself first before you tackle intimacy with others? I know, I go through social media and I talk to other people and they're like, well, some people believe you can have both. Some people believe, that you don't need to really. The only way to develop your relationship with yourself is to develop a relationship with others. Well, what is your opinion on that? Is there value in having that relationship with yourself first before you tackle intimacy or relationships with other people? Healthy relationships.
That's a great question. I would say that it's not a matter of like first or when you're in a partnership, you should do it. But that we should always have a relationship with ourselves, because from the time that we're born, we're in relationship. We're in relationship with our parents, And unfortunately, some people's first abusers are their parents. So at that moment, you're in a relationship with your parent, but when the door is closed by yourself and you're in the room, you could either sulk or you indulge in that relationship with yourself, which kind of begins to mend and define what a real relationship you would like to create in your life. So when you do grow up and have interest in relationships with other partners, you can always come back to the relationship that you have with yourself as a foundation and key of how you really want to be treated. So it can be scary if you don't have a relationship with yourself from a young age.
That's very true. I know in my own life, I've had to not only redefine relationships that my parents originally, the way they taught me how to love, and I had to redefine that but I learned that through other relationships on how to define that. I learned that people pleasing is not necessarily, the way for me to go, although I grew up as a people pleaser. And I mimicked that behavior in relationships with friends and also intimate partners. But it was debilitating to my spirit. So I had to, in the process, take time and pull myself away and then take that big picture look. So do you think that there is some type of, this may be a redundant question. So when you take that step back, do you think there is, well, let me ask you, for you, what was the catalyst? Like, what was the wake-up call? What was the thing that was like, this is not working for me anymore? Like, I can't continue in this direction with people because it's not serving me. What was that defining moment for you?
I believe that is multiple catalysts just throughout life. But the first one I can't really remember or locate in my heart is just being a child and having like this Cinderella story going on, like with the evil stepmother and the siblings are, being obviously treated different than me, and constantly being mistreated in my own house, in my own space, and going to my bookcase, like literally the room I'm in now. I could think back to when it was my childhood room. It was a bookcase full of books right by the window, and it was also some art supplies. And I would be so uncomfortable to like move around in my house because any moment my stepmother could say something, that would basically down my spirit and chip at my soul. So I would just go to that corner, my little Kayla corner. It was a rocking chair and everything. Ooh, amen. It was a rocking chair. I would grab a book and just escape and feel joy in what I was creating for myself. Feel joy in exercising my imagination. And when I was older, more so in college, I was dating this guy, and I'm just like, he was so manipulative, a narcissist, sexy, so that's just making it all harder to just, for me to
yeah. Been there, done that a few times.
It was okay. But I was just so depressed that I just resulted to do what I did when I was a child and flock to art. Like, just flock to Michael's, spent like $100 worth art materials, and I just started to paint. It was my first time really painting as an adult, so the painting was just my soul speaking so vividly. And then in those moments, I remember, I remembered, yeah, this is how my relationships should always be. And I'd rather be by myself than with somebody else, even if it's a relative, a partner. I choose myself.
Yeah. And just for the listeners, I want to clarify intimate relationship. An intimate relationship, it doesn't necessarily mean sexual. An intimate relationship, it could be your mom, it could be your sister, it could be your best friend, it could be a lover, it could be a husband, it could be, it could be anything any person that you hold in your heart that takes up space in your head and heart. That you share your time with. And so I just want to make that clear for listeners, because I think, in this paradigm, we kind of get intimacy and sexuality confused.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with Miss Kayla Johnson of Free Self Creations, and we're going to hear a little bit of I Am Somebody, and you guys stay easy. We'll be right back.
One, check it, two, check it, three. My check it, one, check it, two, check it, three. My check it, one, check it, two, check it, three. My check it, one, check it, two, check it, three. My check. Not dark, but I'm lovely. No one held above me. Got body in the flesh, that's why your girl may love me. Never ever ugly, maybe just a little chubby. More cushion for the pusher, so your man steady bug me. Stay fly on the regular. Don't have a strong competitor. Say what the fuck I won't, hell no, I don't need no editor. Money in my pocket, so my girls call me cheesy. Dressed too fresh to ever be called sleazy. Never catch me slipping, cause I'm Southside raised. Loud on deck, so I'm forever in the haze. Not phased by suckers acting like jealous bitches. I'm grinding with the voodoo, that's how we do with snitches. Born in the shy, so I can never come whack down with the mental murder, so I don't pack a gat. I'm sweating all the killers dressed in dark shades of blue. People fed up with the popo, yo, your time about due. Chi-Town represent, cause you know how we do. Got the Lucy's and the Robies and the liquor and the brews. Chi-Town represent, yo, I do it for the love. Chi-Town represent, like a hand in the glove. Chi-Town represent, cause you know how we do. Got the Lucy's and the Robies and the liquor and the brews. Chi-Town represent, yo, I do it for the love. Chi-Town represent, like a hand in the glove. Up to the beat, see that the fuck is going down. Damn, my city is so beautiful, they flock to my town. Cool breeze off the lake, make the heat fall better. Tip dropping nice, so yo, you better bring a sweater. Summertime in the shy, got mad shit to do. Chill on the rooftop, puff with the crew. Giordano's for the pizza, Harold's for the chicken too. But since a nigga is a vegan, shy raw, what I do. Farmers markets on the north, south, west side too. Don't forget the east, homies will come for you. Underground hip hop, stay bumping in the street. Shout to Ange 13, my sister never come weak. Haters in the past, going forward to my rise. Petty niggas on their knees, praying for my demise. Save your breath, you silly fool, cause you know it ain't happening. Head of the ship, so they all call me Captain. Chi-Town represent, cause you know how we do. Got the Lucy's and the Robies and the liquor and the booze. Chi-Town represent, yo, I do it for the love. Chi-Town represent, like a hand in the glove. Chi-Town represent, cause you know how we do. Got the Lucy's and the Robies and the liquor and the booze. Chi-Town represent, yo, I do it for the love. Chi-Town represent, like a hand in the glove. Justice for the righteous man, it's universal law. I'm a diamond, you can look, but now you won't see no flaw. Tighten up your game so you can get on my level. I stay silky smooth like them brothers called Neville. Hit to the kicks being played by the busters. Niggas jack so hard, that's why they call you nut huggers. Not shooting for the moon, yo, I'm aiming for the stars. Rockets on my sneaks, blasting me past Mars. Respect to the mob, staying ever so deep. P, you'll be missed, the done language we speak. Chi-Town represent, cause you know how we do. Got the Lucy's and the Robies and the liquor and the brews. Chi-Town represent, yo, I do it for the love. Chi-Town represent, like a hand in the glove. Chi-Town represent, cause you know how we do. Got the Lucy's and the Robies and the liquor and the brews. Chi-Town represent, yo, I do it for the love. Chi-Town represent, like a hand in the glove.
Okay, and we are back with Miss Kayla Johnson of Free Self Creations. And we're going to talk about her book. She wrote a book, and we're going to talk about that book on our last segment. But I wanted to get into this question because I've spent some time with you, and we have a lot of fun. And usually it's hard for people to fake that type of self-love, I would say. And that fun, when you're around people, a lot of times you can feel people's heavy energy and stuff. And I don't feel that with you. So I want to ask you, what makes you smile?
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful that, you can vouch for my energy, you can experience it and affirm it. It just made me feel so good. And I definitely know that God's mercy and grace makes me smile, because most days I don't even know why I'm smiling, and I'm going through so many things that would make, another person complain or make them, habitually sad, which I guess can be depressed, but God just has this mercy on me where I find joy in a sunny day. I find joy in looking at art. I find joy listening to other people express themselves. It's just exciting to me to not live constantly in a pain or in a funk. So anything that's just positive, uplifting, I can do to start my day, I do. But I just feel like God really blessed me to be a person that doesn't get so easily defeated by all the things that are on my plate. It's not easy, but it's a gift.
Here's a good question. If you could choose one book as a mandatory read for high school students, what book would you choose?
Okay. Well, in my dream world of a liberation high school for majority Black people.
Ashe.
Okay, we gotta set up the class.
We gotta set it up.
I think one book that I would make mandatory is All About Love by Bell Hooks. Shout out to the ancestor that just transitioned.
Shout out to Ancestor Bell Hooks.
That book is about relationship with yourself, which Bell Hooks always says the personal is political. So our self-relationship definitely defines the relationship we're able to have, the boundaries that we're able to have with the world. And that book talks about self-love, children, Black men, Black women, white people. And it really set me on a positive path to also question intimacy, question love, question what is self, what is the responsibility of self. So that's going to be what they need to read before they go to college for sure.
That's good. I love Bell Hooks. When I was in college, it was a book about Black boys and education, and that book changed my life. And because I'm a mother of sons, and I was like, when I have kids, and it was so funny because it was the year before I gave birth to my first child when I read that book, and I was like, I'm definitely gonna do things differently with them, so that they have a strong sense of self, when they grow up. What do you love most about yourself?
What I love most about myself is my spirit of travel. Like the most in tune I feel with myself is usually when I'm in a different state, or I'm like just on a journey and I could just be myself, and depends wholeheartedly on my intuition, on my faith. And those experiences, they just fill me with so much magic that I'm still smiling from just places that I visited years ago. Maybe just for a couple moments I stopped by. I just like being with you in LA, and I was thinking today, like, oh my goodness, I need to ask Butterfly, excuse me, how to make the jackfruit chicken and rice, because I want some tonight.
I will definitely send you that recipe.
Thank you.
In what ways do you show love to yourself?
As of late, the way I've been showing love to myself is by pushing through. Excuse me. Pushing through to do the cleaning work that I don't want to do. So usually self-love for me on a good day, I show my self-love by taking myself to a coffee shop, getting some tea, journaling. But lately, what's been really feeling rewarding is cleaning up the corners of my physical house and spiritual house that just been collecting dust for years and years. And some people might say that's shadow work, but it's bone-breaking work. It's humbling work. And when I do just surrender my ego to those moments, when I just clean and just stop hoarding and throwing away stuff, that has been feeling like love.
What advice, or what would you, if a person is new on this journey, you know, they've been suffering in other relationships, they don't have good self-esteem, but they want it. They really want to feel good in their body. They want to feel good about themselves. What advice would you give them as a place to start with their self-relationship?
Yes, I will always encourage one to start with their childhood self. I feel like our childhood self is the superhero in our life, and when they get a moment by themselves, instead of soaking, maybe soak for a minute, but instead of staying stagnant, like keep your energy moving by, going back to the first point of the wheel, which is your inner self, your inner child, and doing the things that they were passionate about. Now, you might have an inner child that went through a certain amount of trauma that makes you not even want to think about your childhood. So experience treating yourself as a child today. Like listening to all your needs, listening to, investing it into your own curiosity. This one poet, Kayla, I'm going to have to share the poem to you. But she talks about how, in one of her poems, she talks about how we show so much affection and we give so much to this partner, but you are your first baby. You are your first baby. You calling this other person baby, and you putting up with their mess, but you're your first baby. So we know how to be nurturing, but I would just encourage everyone to offer themselves some of that nourishment before they exhaust their cup, giving it to someone else. And don't nourish the adult, but nourish the inner child. So it might be just doing something fun or going to visit your grandma's house if they're still alive, But grounding yourself in something that's pure.
That's a beautiful place to start with the child. I know I'm currently writing a book myself, and I had to dive into those. Okay, I had to dive into those recesses of my mind, and I found, like you were talking about, cleaning out those corners. Man, I found some stuff that I had repressed and buried deep, that I actually had to face. And when I faced it, it wasn't actually as painful. I mean, it was some bad stuff. Like when I looked at it, I was like, wow, that happened. Wow. But just the realization of it, and it was like, you know what, but today, but like right now in my present physical body, it didn't break me. I'm here.
Yes.
I'm alive, I'm breathing. I may not be financially where I want to be. I may not be living in the house I want to be, but I am here. That's from Color Purple when she said, I may be black, I may be ugly, but I'm here. It's like really, but it takes courage and it takes bravery to really do that. And then because the reward is to find out that it didn't break you. It didn't take you down. You really are stronger than you realize. Even through the depression, even through the repetitive lessons learned and all that, you are still stronger than we are stronger than we really give ourselves credit for. Mm-hmm. It's so true.
And we're supposed to be strong.
You are.
Be strong.
You are. You are.
God never said that it wasn't going to be easy or no troubles.
Obstacles are a part of life.
It's a scripture in Romans, and it says something like, under the line says, tribulations worketh patience.
Yeah, you don't have to ask for patience, because you're gonna already get it through the obstacles and trials of life. Don't
ask for patience.
Don't ask for it, because it's already in your path. You're gonna have to have it anyway. So if you asking for extra.
Right,
don't do that. You don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. What can you do today that you didn't know you were capable of a year ago? Probably so much.
Okay.
Because you are always evolving and changing.
I think what I could do today that I didn't think I could do a year ago is the healing that needed to take place, going into those corners, like going to therapy, starting therapy over this year, really surrendering to pain as a teacher, or tribulations as a teacher, like, and loving that teacher anyway. So I thought, especially going into, 20s into 30s, I just thought life just got so much sexier and so much wilder and so much, new destinations. But that's not what's happening, and that was a hard pill for me to swallow. But I've swallowed it, I've accepted, and the fact that I can still love it is something that, and be graceful. I never thought, like, I'm maturing, and I never thought that I really would in this way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to take another break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about this book, Lamp, baby. We're going to talk about lamp. We're going to light it up with that lamp, okay? Yes. So, y'all, we'll be right back. Thank you for listening to Being with Butterfly. I'm Kay Butterfly Smith, Healing Planetary Being, and I'm your host.
Thank you for listening to Being with Butterfly. Being with Butterfly is brought to you by KGPLA. KGPLA is a mixed media, worker-owned co-housing artist co-op. For more information on how we do what we do, how to support us, how to get involved, or you just want to watch our great content, go to www.kgpla.art. That's kgpla.art. KGPLA. Seed ideas, plant dreams, fuel lives.
Without time, I am with time without time, for time is an illusion and constant change of thought. Time without time, I am time. Hoping, wishing, chasing, praying, touching, loving, missing, feeling, giving, leading, knowing, growing, birthing, breathing, beating, craving, eating, drinking, thinking, flying, wanting, kissing, healing, tapping, brushing, fucking, making love, grinding, raining, dancing, moving, hating, hustling, diving, not dying, waving, but living, piercing, daring, diving, swimming, looking, bringing, diving, planting, stomping, humbling myself, pacing, walking, running, being still, taking swift steps, swaying, swimming, gasping, grasping, firing, coming, coming, hiding, sounding, hearing, washing, slipping, sliding, skating on thin ice, sipping, bowing, blowing, drowning, bowing, laying, rocking, standing, sitting, riding, shaking, licking, time, traveling, rubbing, perfect timing, thirsting, making, working, giving, going, growing, living, staying, rising, falling, breaking, dealing, dreaming, sleeping, bathing, missing, praising, clapping, squeezing, closing, pausing, guessing, pouring, tasting, searching, finding, flying, grounding, scratching, licking, sucking, hugging, doing, panting, sweating, pointing, smoking, passing, dripping, killing, wasting time, panting, seeing, saving, writing, drawing, feeding, receiving, reviving, losing, finding myself in you, finding myself in me. You is me, and I'm following you, me, trusting you, me, creating you, me, partaking you, me, including you, me, documenting you, me, exploring you, me, uncovering you, me, echoing you, me, listening to you, me, repeating you, me, hungering you, me, existing you, me, exiting, repairing, forgiving, understanding, opening, meditating, regurgitating, remembering you, me, expressing, suppressing, wondering, ascending, fingering, sacrificing, offering, electrifying, whispering, discovering, whispering, discovering, time, discovering, time, with and without you, with and without you, rediscovering time, rediscovering time, with and without you, with and without you, without you, me time, without you, without time, we're in time, without time, there is no time. Rediscovering time. Discovering time. Okay, you guys, we're back with Kayla J, Kayla Johnson of Free Self Creations. Now, we're going to get into this lamp, y'all. So this book, I haven't read it yet, but I know her. So she's a poet as well. I mean, she does so many different things. But she's a poet, and so she wrote this poetry book. And I imagine, knowing her, that this was a tool that she used to uplift herself, a tool that she used to go into those corners. When she talked earlier about those corners in her spirit, that this was a tool that she used to excavate her house, her body, her spirit. And so, first of all, tell us, it's a L period, A period, M period, P period. So it's an acronym. What is the acronym for?
So the acronym is Love and Lust, Afterlife, Magic, and Protection. Lamb.
All the things I love. All the things I love. So what was your inspiration for the book?
I would definitely say my inspiration was a poet, Lucille Clifton. She's very popular, and she has a book called The Book of Light. And the works aren't the same, but the audacity is there. The boldness. Also, my grandfather's passing deeply inspired me to do things that I thought that I was not capable. I knew I was capable of, but I didn't feel worthy enough to be, in the libraries with other people or be amongst my peers. So it was a time where I was cleaning up a corner of who I am, of not feeling worthy. And it's kind of like that. It's not, I don't know if Nelson Mandela is the original author of this, but that Kayla and the Bee speech, where it says, do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I don't have it memorized, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness. Well, she's basically saying that she's gonna shine. And she refuses to not shine, right, for the approval of others. Yes. It was one of those moments. And the acronym LAMP came to me, and these things, love and lust, afterlife, magic, and protection, those things are, kind of things that all black women grapple with, culturally speaking.
Yeah, I know a lot of things that I do creative-wise, I do for black women first, because I'm a black woman first. I'm not just a woman. I don't have the luxury of saying I'm just a woman. I'm a woman of color. I'm a black woman. I'm an indigenous woman. So I do what I do for them. Well, for myself, but then for them. You know what I mean? For us.
Yeah.
And my hope, as I'm sure yours is, that like their journey is not going to look like mine. It's not going to look like yours. But that you take up whatever mantle it is that you want to put yourself in the world, to see yourself in the world, to leave something in the world of yourself.
Amen.
That you get inspired to show up for yourself in your own unique way. And I love the idea of this book because, especially like afterlife. There's so many different things about that afterlife you can really look at, like the afterlife or afterlife, like life never stops. It just never stops. But and then I'm just excited to that people, that you're putting something into the onto the planet, into the world, that people can impart their own divine inspiration from, that they can pick up their lamp and carry their light, into the dark, into this world, and make their own mark, make their own light, because it's enough for everybody to do. And you share so many of your gifts with people. And so this is another thing, like, because she does work, you do workshops, and you show people how to do stuff. You don't just say, okay, read my stuff, buy my stuff. No, I make jewelry, but you can make jewelry too. Let me show you how to make jewelry. You want to write a book? I wrote a book. You could buy my book, but let me show you how to make your own book.
Yep.
And that is, to me, very commendable, because a lot of people out here just to get paper. They're not out here to uplift anyone. And to me, that shows that you have a strong connection to yourself, because you are comfortable enough into yourself to know that there is enough. There's an unlimited supply of creativity, of ideas, of wealth to share, and knowledge to share with people. And so that was one of my reasons for asking you on our show today. How long did it take you to write this book?
Well, the book was already done. The poems were already finished, because they were poems that I had written over the course of 2021. I use poetry as a vehicle to express my sexuality, express my love. I feel like erotic and sensual poetry is one of the safest forms of sex. So, and one of the most accessible too, if you want it right in the moment. Okay. So I also use poetry to grieve my grandfather. I had so much I wanted to say to him. And I also use it to honor him. And I also used words as spells. Excuse me. Just being in control of the way that they can flow in a poem was healthy for me. It was a healthy exercise for me. And I also, for the protection part, I also use poetry for the political power it can have. And a lot of my protection poems are really talking about how Black women are just seen as targets, not protected, only having each other, and like using, lavender for protection. Like, why do we have to use a plant to protect us? Why can't we all just, be protected by one another? Why do we have to use so much mojo bags and tricks and prayers to be protecting this society? But it is what it is. So I use that protection aspect as a political platform for me as well, because I'm not really into politics, but I do believe, as Bell Hooks says, the personal is political, and that I need to talk about power in my work as well.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Last question. What advice would you give to a person writing a book for the first time, or even like, I think I want to write a book? What advice would you give to them?
My advice would be, don't put the pressure on your first book of being your best book, being the most perfect book, being the most your New York Times bestseller. Don't put unnecessary pressure on your first book, because I feel like that's what stops people. Instead of it being a process where making a book these days is super easy, with all the online tools that we have and YouTube videos. But what gets us, kind of stopped or hesitant is when we don't feel like we're smart enough, worthy enough. We feel like it has to have 500 pages, when the average book today is maybe 100 pages, maybe 50 pages. Maybe it's just a cookbook, Maybe your first book is just some journals with some scriptures or some quotes in it. But don't put so much pressure that you lose time. Bell Hooks talks about how Black women are writing against time because our mortality rates are so high from murders, from health issues, all these things. We're being taken to the ancestral realm so fast. So we have a responsibility to write, leave a legacy, to reinvent, reimagine, like how Octavia Butler, she reimagines worlds for Black women through her books that still affect us today.
Yes, they do.
So your first book is not, don't put the pressure of it being your best book, and just know that you'll keep, the more books you write, the more practice you get, and even if you don't sell your book, you deserve a book. We're all stories. We're all walking stories. Even if it's just something that you keep in your personal library, maybe 5 copies in the world, that's still a legacy that can bless someone else.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. Would you please tell everyone listening where they can find you, how they can support you?
Yes. Thank you again, Butterfly. Folks can find me on social media platform, Instagram at Free Self Creations, Facebook Free Self Creations. You can support or purchase a copy of lamp or jewelry I create, freeselfcreations.com, and my workshop space. I am thinking about how I want 2022 to look. You can find that at patreon.com/freeselfcreations.
Yes, and she has some awesome membership tiers, and she has some really valuable information on her Patreon. So I encourage everyone to subscribe to her, to pick up a copy of her book, and just to check her out on Instagram. She makes some really fun posts, some really cool TikTok videos. She is really an inspiration to me. And she's old enough to be my daughter, but I find inspiration.
I am your daughter.
You are. And I find inspiration in you every day. And I thank, the spirits and the universe that our lives, our paths crossed. And I really support and appreciate you showing up in the world and showing up how you do in the world. For people, for Black women, for indigenous Black women, and just loving yourself and being that lamp for us all when we are in dark times. I love you.
I love you too. I'm so excited for our future, especially as writers, period.
Any last things you want to share before we end?
I am full.
Okay.
I'm grateful.
Okay. Well, thank you all for tuning in, wherever you are, whatever time zone you are. And you have been listening to Being with Butterfly, and our guest today, Kayla Johnson of Free Self Creations. Check her out on all social media platforms and her Patreon account. Also her website, freeselfcreations.com. And we will see you next time. Remember, you are beautiful. Thank you for tuning in to Season 3 of Being with Butterfly, and thank you to our wonderful guests. Thank you so much for listening. Please share, like, comment, and review. For more information on Being with Butterfly and other programs brought to you by KGPLA, visit www.kgpla.art. That's kgpla.art.